Hey everybody, what's going on? It's Wednesday. Seems like we haven't seen you guys in a long time because we weren't here on on Monday.
Yeah.
So yeah, we weren't here since Friday. But yeah, Tom was really sick.
Yeah, I
And
feel a lot better now, though.
yeah, to be honest, we watched a movie and was too sick to pay attention to it. So I'm gonna do a review of it like on my own because I actually quite liked it. It was one that you guys recommended, but I won't spoil it. But yeah, so I'll do that like I probably am gonna record it either tomorrow or Friday or this weekend sometime. So it should be early next week or maybe this weekend. I'll put it up.
Yeah.
But
real
yeah,
bad sinus infection. It's messing up my ears and everything. Can't really hear that well.
yeah,
But I'm feeling better.
yeah. You
today.
seem a lot better.
Yeah, I'm better.
Because you were like super sick on
real
Monday.
sleepy.
Yeah, I slept most of the day. CB said he's a different douchebag. Yeah, this is a different douchebag that we're talking about today.
Talking about Rob Farrell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This guy, one of you guys, I don't remember who it was, but it was a while back, but one of you guys recommended him. And strangely, I had not heard about this guy. Even though you'd think that this would have been like right up my alley, I feel like, just because there was the whole satanic panic angle and shit like that. And this was like a huge case at the time. It happened in North Carolina in like the mid 2000s. I'm gonna warn people ahead of time. Like, I would advise not eating while I'm telling the story because there's like a hoarders-esque aspect to it that I will say I watched a couple documentaries about this guy. Like I watched the Vice. That's probably the best known one. It's called The Devil, and I think it was 5 episodes, but I only saw the first 3 episodes because they were on Daily Motion because I didn't want to pay for the whole thing. And they had footage of when the cops finally just went into this dude's house, and I legit thought I could smell that house through the fucking screen, if you know what I'm saying. So it gets pretty gross. And like a dumbass, I was watching a documentary about it while I was eating, and then I was just kind of like, I don't really want this food anymore. That's pretty fucking nasty. Just like the way they're talking about it. But yeah, this guy, I feel like, man, this case here, it's just there was so much failure by so many people involved, not just the guy himself, who, to be fair, was severely mentally ill. But I feel like there was a lot of failure on the part of his mom, for sure, social services, law enforcement. It's just like so many people dropped the ball in this case, and at least 3 people ended up dead because of it. And well, actually 4 people, including him. But, and honestly, he's dead now, so it's like, so they're never gonna know if he actually did kill more people, which he said he did. But I don't know if anyone's gonna ever find that out. But it's a pretty fucking depressing story. Like I said, there's a lot of documentaries, like a lot of YouTubers have covered it, and like I said, you can pay for it, but Vice did like a several episode series on it called The Devil, which was actually really good. That interviewed like a lot of the principal players, and it goes like pretty in depth into the story. But
CB was asking about Rob Farrell earlier.
Rod Farrell.
Rob Farrell. Yeah, Rob. Is
No,
it Rod or Rob?
It's Rod with a D.
Rod? Okay. I knew his lawyer and was friends with his lawyer.
We did a show about Rod Farrell.
Yeah.
I think we did a show about him and Richard Chase, the vampire killer. I think we did it too for...
Yeah, Candace was his original lawyer when for the case here in Florida. So I think he got tried in Louisiana, didn't he?
I don't remember.
Because he committed a crime, I think it's in Louisiana. But yeah, I knew his lawyer and the lawyer's daughter, little Candace. I worked on both their horses, and worked at her barn. And Candace trained underneath my mom and my mom's barn. And it's just funny how I know them. I saw Farrell's paperwork when I did a job at Candace's law office. I was straightening out all her files and came across Farrell. I go, there he is. Here's Farrell. And I was looking at all his initial paperwork and stuff. It just, nothing that wasn't already publicly known, and it wasn't anything having to do with the details of the case. It was his arrest record papers and shit like extradition paperwork and shit like that. But it's just funny. I was like, there's that vampire motherfucker right there. Yeah,
You know what's weird?
funny.
I happened to be watching like a true crime series the other day. I don't remember which one it was. It was just one of the bajillion that they have like on HBO
Yeah.
Max. And one of the shows was about the Rod Farrell case.
Yeah.
And it was fairly recent. I think it was just like, maybe 4 or 5 years old. And Candace was on there, and I was like,
Yeah.
hey, don't you know her?
Yeah.
And she was interviewed quite extensively. And also they talked to Rod Farrell in prison,
Yeah.
and it's shocking how fucking normal he seems now.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, well, because he was kind of a kid, like, when he did the shit,
Yeah.
and he seems to have, like, grown up a lot, I guess. He would kind of have
Yeah.
to. So, and he's just kind of, like, talking about how stupid it was and all this other kind of shit, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It was kind of interesting. Yeah, this guy, I mean, like I said, I'm not trying to excuse this particular guy's behavior. And okay, so Pazuzu Algarad obviously is not his real name. He changed it to that willingly, for edgelord reasons, which we'll get into in a little bit. But in this guy's defense, I think he had a lot of unaddressed mental issues. Well, he was diagnosed with several very serious mental issues and really didn't get sufficient help for them. And like I said, I think there was a lot of points during his life when someone could have intervened, and nobody did. And he was just kind of like left to kind of run amok. The crazy thing about this, though, is that as unhinged as he was, as disgusting as he was, which we'll get into, he still managed to have kind of, I don't know if I'd go so far as to call them followers or to call it a cult, because I know like the media, to sensationalize it, some were like, oh, satanic cult, and I don't think it was quite that. I think it was just like a bunch of people hanging around in his trash house, like because of drugs and stuff. And he did have a couple people that helped him like bury bodies and do shit like that. So he did have like maybe a slight like Charles Manson-y kind of shit going on. And they talked to a couple of his former friends. And they said, yeah, like even though like physically he was gross, his house was disgusting and all this other kind of stuff, but he was like weirdly charismatic. So like he had some kind of, I can't really picture it myself, but drugs are a hell of a drug, as a wise person once said. And I think that was
I don't even know this guy. I've never even heard of this guy.
And I think so that was probably like a big factor, because I guess if someone's got heroin and gives you a place to do it, like you will put up with pretty much anything, as this story will attest. You know what I mean? I think that's the only explanation, because some of the shit that was like, because it was a lot of people. Like I said, his house was kind of known as the party house, and everybody would go there and do drugs and various other things, which like I said, I don't want to spoil it because it's pretty fucking nasty, but they would go there and do that, and everyone was just like fine with it. And I will say this much, that it's like when the cops finally went out there to do something about it, after years of rumors and neighbors being like, hey, can somebody like look into this? Pretty sure like he's got bodies buried in his backyard. The cops, there's footage of the cops like when they're going up to do the initial search, and they could smell the house from out in the yard.
Really?
Because the guy said, what is that stench? He's like, Christ almighty.
Yeah.
I remember him saying that, like while he was walking up to the house, and they had to get like full hazmat suits and everything. And like I said, when I saw the shit, because there's footage of like, their body cam footage of like when they went in the house the first time. And, you know what I mean?
You can smell the house from outside now.
Yeah, they could smell the house from outside. Like they were still out in the yard, like before they even got to the
What
house.
did it say it smelled like?
Well, a combination of things,
Okay.
a beautiful stew of things.
Okay.
Death, carrion, shit,
You're right.
urine, ammonia.
Damn.
Yeah, just everything. Just it's not a fun time. And I was like, wow, that's one day you wouldn't want to be a cop. Like, man, why didn't I call in sick today? What the fuck? You know what I mean? So yeah, it's just, this is, like I said, it's a disgusting story all around. And I was actually fascinated by the interviews with his friends, like people that hung out with him. And like, I'm not saying that they thought it was like normal, because like I said, they're all kind of junkies and stuff, but some of them were still like normal. They were still like, relatively sympathetic people who just kind of ended up in a bad situation. But they were just like not, they were so like low key, like none of this was any big deal. Kind of. And I was just like, man, I'm so glad I didn't get into fucking heroin and meth and all that other kind of shit, because it's like just these disgusting ass people hanging out in these disgusting ass houses. And like fucking people getting murdered, like people, it's like it's so fucking gross. But yeah. Oh, Cody from the 9072 says, "Hey guys, thank you so much for doing my recommendation." Oh, thank you for reminding me, because I was like, I knew one of y'all had recommended it, but I couldn't remember, like, because it was a while back. It's like, this is gonna be a great show. Can't wait to hear y'all cover this topic. Yeah, this was something else. Tammy says, look into Wayne Adam Ford. Okay, I will do that. I did write that down. CB says, unfortunately, guys like this come to the fetish bar Forbidden I go to, and they get told to fuck off every time because no one wants anything to do with them. Yeah, this guy, like I said, I think he had issues big time. But he definitely had that edgelord kind of thing where his whole thing was doing things specifically to shock people. And he was in this little bitty conservative town in North Carolina. So obviously that's going to be pretty easy to do. And there were rumors all over town that he's like, oh, he's a Satanist and they're sacrificing animals and stuff in there, which in their defense actually probably was true. He did for real like kill animals and drink their blood, and pretty sure they had, I don't know, I guess you could call them orgies. I guess they had that in there too. But I don't think he was, everybody's like, they call him a Satanist, and he would say that, but I don't really think it was like a Satanist, kind of like a Christian kind of thing would think. I think he was, like I said, I think he was just doing whatever he could do, like just to shock people. He did have, there's a pretty, I don't think I used this picture for the, for any of the stuff, but there's a picture of him online where he's got his arm out like that, and he has this huge tattoo, like right there, that says Satan, like really big, like in these kind. And it looks homemade, but it's like these big, huge, like letters, and he's got like 666. He's got tattoos all over his face, and I don't have any problem with that, honestly. I don't, obviously, I don't have a lot of problem with like people having a lot of tattoos, or, he had a shaved head at one point, and then he had like his dreadlocks and shit like that. So kind of like an alternative style, I guess you want to call it that. And a lot of the people that hung out with him had that too. But and obviously I don't have a problem with that. But I think he was doing it like to piss everyone off. You know what I mean?
What year was this?
Well, the murders happened in 2009.
Okay.
But the shit had been going on for a long time. Because like I said, people have been complaining about this house. And I want to say some shit about his mom too, because it's crazy to me that all this shit was going on in this house.
Yeah.
Like up to and including murder. And the mom lived there too. And like didn't do anything about it.
With the place smelling like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm like, I think the mom's got all, I've seen like some clips of interviews with the mom. She seems normal-ish, but I mean, she probably had some issues of her own. I think she was one of those that like everything their kid did, like their kid could do no wrong kind of thing.
Yeah.
It seemed like she was always like making excuses for his behavior. So, and it just kind of escalated, and I don't know if she was scared of him, she just didn't know what to do, or she did admit that, yeah, she knew he needed mental help, but he went and got it at some point, but she couldn't afford to keep doing it because they didn't have a lot of money. And, that sucks, but I don't know. I think she enabled a lot of his behavior to some degree. I don't want to blame her entirely, but she could have turned him in at any point, because it's like she seemed to know what was going on in there. Like up to and including the murder, and or one of the murders that happened in the house. I think there was 2 that happened in the house, and then one that Pazuzu wasn't directly involved in, but like that a associate of his was involved in, that he was also. And they don't know how many people he killed, because he killed at least one. His girlfriend killed one, and he was involved in that too. And then he was involved in another one that a friend of his did. But he said to his friends that you know, he had killed a couple of sex workers, that he had killed some homeless people, shit like that. And they never did find out if that was the case. Like, people thought that he was full of shit, but then when they found out that he actually had murdered people and there were bodies in his backyard, just like he always said, they're like, oh, maybe he wasn't lying about that other shit either. They thought he was just trying to be cool or whatever by saying that he killed all these people. But yeah, so he's dead, so I don't know if they're ever gonna find out if he killed any more people or if he was just blowing smoke, you know? But he definitely was involved in at least 3 murders that they know of. Tammy says, they say when you live in filth, you get used to the stink and just stop smelling it. I've heard that too, because like I said, I watch a lot of hoarders, and this is kind of what this reminded me of. And that's that kind of blows my mind too, because it's like, you know, you would just get, your nose would just get blown out after a while. It would have to. But I would think that if you went out of your house, like to go to the grocery store or whatever the hell, and then came back in like several hours later, it would hit you anew, like all over again. You're like, oh man, I need to clean this place up. They never do though. Because some of those, it always kills me too on hoarders, because when the psychiatrist first walks in the house, and you can tell that they're trying to keep their face as neutral as possible, because they don't want to be like, what the fuck, you know what I mean? And like spook the person, because they know that they have issues. But they're like, wow, there's a very, very powerful smell in here. What do you think about that? So they're always like keeping it like really fucking, which always kind of cracks me up. Because I think if I walked into a house like that, I would just immediately throw up. I wouldn't be able to help it. You know, and I don't know how they don't. They have a stronger stomach than I do, I guess. You know. All right, so I guess we're gonna start talking about this motherfucker here, this crazy story. So, like I said, Pazuzu Algarad, obviously, actually it's Pazuzu Algarad. That was his whole name that he changed it to. But like I said, obviously that wasn't the name that he was born with. He actually changed it to that when he was in his 20s. He was actually born with the rather normal name of John Alexander Lawson. And he was born in San Francisco in 1978. However, they don't actually know that much about his childhood. I've heard like various things, but some of it was from him, and you're not really entirely sure what to believe there, because he would sometimes tell stories. But it's not real clear like what happened. But no, I don't think anybody thought that there was anything necessarily wrong with him as a kid. I did read that he failed 2nd grade, which seems kind of hard to do. And I think he also failed 9th grade later on, and then later just dropped out of school altogether. So he obviously had some problems even when he was a kid. But I think that they talked to his babysitter, and she said he was just a little like weird. That's all. Like, he wasn't like, you know, he didn't seem like a psychopath or anything like that. So he moved actually when he was a kid. I think he was only a couple years old when his mom, his name was Cynthia, moved from San Francisco. Like, his parents got divorced, and the mom and him like moved to North Carolina, because that's where she was originally from. So he didn't spend very long in San Francisco at all. They moved to this tiny little town in North Carolina. And so for a little while, she was a single mom, you know, bringing him up. And like I said, he seemed relatively normal, at least according to most stuff that I could find. Now, she later remarried. I think the guy's name was Johnny James. So he was like the stepdad. And according to her, this was when, I know his name was John when he was born, but I'm just going to call him Pazuzu, like, so we don't get confused. But this was where she said that he started to act up. I'm not sure if this is entirely the case, because like I said, he did fail 2nd grade, and this was before, you know, she remarried. And I also read somewhere that kids in school had already started calling him names about how he smelled bad and stuff like that. So the hygiene issues, which he partook in like later on, seem to have also been occurring prior to the marriage. But in the mom's story, she said he started acting weird after she married because him and the stepdad didn't get along. So they moved in this little house, which is like, it was a pretty small house, but, you know, nice, like a little working class, middle class kind of house. And this was in Clemmons, North Carolina, which, like I said, very, very small, very churchy town where they like literally believed in demons, like, you know what I mean? It was like super Christian. Now, so his behavior starts to change. Like him and the stepdad didn't get along, and she said that he started, staying in his room more, like not talking much, shit like that. Now, later on, it kind of became complicated because Pazuzu himself would kind of make up stories about his childhood, that he was actually from Iraq, which, no, he was from California, and that his dad was like some like occult high priest or some shit, which again, pretty sure he wasn't. But like I said, most of the people that knew him as a kid just said he was a little weird. That was it. You know what I mean? He wasn't, not anything that would stand out necessarily. However, when he was 13, he started to drink very heavily, which that's a little bit of a red flag right there. Starting to like essentially become an alcoholic when you're 13 years old. The mom, I'm not really sure where he was getting the alcohol from, because according to him, he drank a lot, like, like a whole 12-pack a day or some shit like that. And I was like, well, he had to have been getting that booze from somewhere. I don't know if she was buying it for him, if he was finding older kids to buy it for him, if she was buying it for herself and he was taking it. I don't really know. But he was getting it from someplace and drinking a fuck ton. The mom, again, seemed like, I don't know her, but she did come across as like thinking this wasn't a huge deal. She used to call him her little warrior, which I thought was a little weird. And it's just, oh, that's just the kind of shit he does or whatever. And it's like, he wasn't a bad kid, but, he just had problems, which obviously. Now, so in 2002, like I said, he dropped out of school. Didn't really seem like interested in getting a job or doing anything that normal people would do. So in 2002, he's in his early 20s, and he decides he's going to legally change his name to Pazuzu Algarad. Obviously Pazuzu, popularized by the Exorcist, was from Mesopotamian or Babylonian lore. Actually, was kind of like a wind demon or something like that. Algarad, I believe, is Arabic for Lord of the Locusts or something like that. So he's, like I said, he's getting in on the edgelord thing, where he's just kind of like, he decides he's gonna try and piss off everyone as much as he can piss them off, and doing the satanic kind of shit. That's what he was doing. So he starts doing shit like shaving his head. He starts like getting tattoos. Like I said, he gets like 666 tattoos, upside down crosses, big Satan on his arm, shit like that. So there's a bunch of tribal tattoos on his face, like he has like lines across his nose and stuff like that. He also took a Dremel tool when he was high on meth one time. He took a Dremel tool and filed all his teeth down to points. So he did that. And he also decided, and like I said, this might have gone back to childhood, because I think that kids in school like commented on how stinky he was. But he specifically decided he was going to stop bathing and brushing his teeth. Because, at least according to him, he thought that the filth was like giving him power or protection or something. That's what he said anyways.
So he just didn't like take a bath.
Yeah,
and I wear the same fucking clothes.
And I was sitting there going, yeah, what is it with? Because I have two younger brothers, and they're delightful human beings. But one thing I noticed, because my parents had a daycare, and like, so I was around a lot of little kids when I was younger. What is it with a lot of little boys, and they do not want to take a bath? What is that about?
I don't know.
Like, I've thought of that like so much.
I was never like that.
I know, but a lot of little boys are.
Yeah.
Like, man, you're like, okay, well, you have to take a bath, like, every day. You'd have to take him in the bath, and it would just be, no!
Maybe
like, it's crazy.
Maybe it's something that, because people are telling you to do it, so you just want to not do it. Because
it might just be that. It might just be contrary.
Yeah.
Is maybe what it is more than...
It takes important time out of your schedule to jump in the shower.
I have Legos to play with, goddammit.
I got shit to do, yeah.
Can't be taking time out for all of that hygiene nonsense. But yeah, so but this guy obviously had no excuse. Like he's in his fucking 20s. But like I said, at this stage, he'd been allegedly a drunk since he was 13. And also other drugs had started to come to the fore, like meth, I think was the main one, and I think he got into heroin later on too. Yeah. So as you can imagine, not great. So yeah, he decides he's not gonna take a bath or brush his teeth. His nice little sharp pointed teeth that he did with a Dremel tool, which Now, right around this time too, I think it was maybe a couple years after he changed his name, he either went willingly or went at the suggestion of his mother to get psychiatric treatment. So he went to a place called the Daymark Recovery Services, which is like the little clinic or whatever. And so at this stage, this was in 2006, he actually was diagnosed with alcoholism, which also agoraphobia. Like he had very like he wouldn't leave the house. Like he would have panic attacks and stuff. So he had that agoraphobia. Everybody knows what agoraphobia is. It's like you can't go outside. You know what I mean? Like fear of going outside. Also schizotypal personality disorder. He had delusions, one of which was that he thought he could control the weather. Might have also been having hallucinations, reality distortions, and was also real paranoid and like suspicious of people's motives. And I'm sure that the drinking and drugs did not help with that one bit. So like I said, the dude had some severe mental health issues, and I feel like it was like a feedback loop, because he has these mental health issues, so he starts self-medicating, as a lot of people do, with alcohol and then stronger drugs, and then that just exacerbates the mental illness even more, so it just becomes this kind of snowball effect. And I think that's pretty much what happened here. So as I said, his mom actually did, try to get him help, but she later said, look, we couldn't afford it, so he just didn't go anymore. So I feel like his condition started to kind of deteriorate. Now at this stage, the stepdad was out of the picture. I think him and the mom divorced, so they're living in this little house in North Carolina, and the mom lives there and he lives there. The house is on Nob Hill Drive. It's not there anymore, so if you want to, like, because they had to tear it down for reasons that will become clear later on. But yeah, so they lived in this little house. And as time went on, he kind of became known around, this is a little bitty town, and he kind of became known around town as that was where you went, the house was where you went to hang out and party and do drugs. And so all of the kind of quote unquote misfits and druggies and junkies and shit like that would go and hang out there. Now, the craziest thing to me when they interviewed some of these people, like, I get that it's a very small, very conservative town, and it's like, if you're not really down with that, like, I can see how, you feel like kind of an outsider, and so you're like, oh, I want to go out and hang with like-minded people. I get that. But the way they talked about it was just funny. Like this one guy who seemed like a nice dude, obviously, it was like him and his girlfriend. They were both real bad heroin addicts. They had come off it at some point, but then they had relapsed. And they would hang out at the house. And he's like, I think the appeal of it was that his house there were no rules. You could just do whatever you wanted. Like, no one would say anything to you, even though his mom was there, but she just stayed in her room, it seems like, and didn't say anything to anybody. So they're like, hey, if you wanted to go and like walk around naked, or you could just have like a orgy over there in the other room, like you could do that, or you could go punch the TV, or you could spray paint on the walls, or you could go take a shit in the corner. You could do that and no one would say anything to you. I'm like, why do you want to take a shit in the corner? I don't know.
Freedom, man. Freedom.
I know. That's what I was like, why do you want to do that in the first place? I have literally never in my life gone to somebody's house and go, you know what?
I'm gonna take
I
a shit in
would
your
really like to take a shit in your corner. A big greasy shit right there.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like, why the fuck would you want to take
Yeah, man. Feel free, man. It's a
Well,
free
go
world.
right ahead.
Yeah.
Be my guest.
Yeah.
Take a shit in my corner.
Yeah.
And then like
Take-
they had some dogs and the dogs would go and eat the poop. It was a whole thing. You
The
guys.
dogs were eating the poop?
Would eat the poop, yeah, because
Damn.
dogs will eat anything.
Damn. No.
Dogs will eat cat shit out of a cat litter box for real.
Damn.
Dogs are gross. They're wonderful, but they're disgusting. Like they'll literally eat anything. But just I don't know, just the way they talked about it. Like I said, I get it. I get being a misfit. I get being young and like, you know, this is a very economically depressed area. Like there was a bad opioid crisis. Like a lot of the kids were on meth. There was nothing to do there. Like I get it. So it's just like that was their only source of entertainment, was just going and hanging out with all these other druggies, and you could just do whatever you wanted, including shitting in the corner if that was your bag.
Yeah.
I'm not judging. I'm judging just a little bit.
Yeah, I'm a good judge.
I'm
That's the thing, you know what I mean? Oh, you can't discriminate. What are you talking about? If you're not discriminating, you don't have any standards.
Yeah, it's like,
what are you talking about, right?
Look, I'm pretty freewheeling when it comes to shit that's like not literal shit, but like that's not hurting other people. As we will see, so many people shit in the corner and broke stuff and peed on the rug and all this other kind of shit that eventually the house had to be demolished because it was uninhabitable. Like it was like hoarder shit. It was like hoarder shit. And this, like, you know, it's just like that bag pooping lady that was on Hoarders, you know what I mean? And these people didn't even poop in bags. They just went over and just, you know, popped a squat, like, right in the corner with everybody watching them, like, you know what I mean? I'm just like, oh my.
Funny. Yeah.
Okay. And then no one would clean it up, obviously. Damn. Like I said, when I saw the footage of the cops going in there, and this had been going on for years at this point, like by the time they finally got off their asses and did something, the house was just, it's almost like, you know how in Peanuts, you know how like Pigpen, like the stink lines, like I felt like I could see stink lines. Yeah. You know what I mean?
And his mom was living in there.
Yeah, and it's like, and all the walls had like, you know, there was like porn and like satanic shit pasted all over it, like magazine pages. There was spray painted like pentagrams and shit like all over the walls and the ceiling. There was just trash everywhere. There was just broken furniture everywhere. There was just shit piled up everywhere. They had animals and they just let the dogs shit everywhere. There was dead animals, like carcasses and stuff, like that they had quote unquote sacrificed, that was like blood, like from animal blood and shit like that, just everywhere. It was fucking disgusting.
Yeah.
And like all of these people were just like hanging out in there, like hanging out, like playing black metal, like over the stereo, doing drugs and just hanging out like it was fine.
The Satanist paradise.
And you know, because yeah, and like I was watching a couple of documentaries about it, and people were like, Jesus Christ, like how the fuck could these people like stand it? Like how could you? But people were like, heroin. That's heroin, how. Because they had drugs.
Right. Yeah.
And it's like if somebody has heroin, then
you'll put up with anything.
Then you'll put up with pretty much anything to get that. So it's just the whole fucking shit about that. So it's not only the house that smelled, like he smelled too, obviously, because he didn't take a bath or brush his teeth or anything like that. And then he lived in the shithole of a house. And it blows my mind that the mom, Cynthia, lived in there the whole time. Now her room was, you know, relatively clean. Obviously, she kept it clean. But I mean, she had to use the rest of the house at some point, like the kitchen at some point. And she went to work, so she wasn't there during the day. But like, she just like allowed it, I guess. Like I said, I don't know if she was afraid of him, which I guess I wouldn't blame her if that was the case. But the fact that she just didn't do anything about it or didn't put her foot down or what, I don't know. Unless she did and they just like shut the fuck up, or I don't know. I don't know what happened. It's just kind of blowing my mind. Maybe she just got used to it after a while, like a frog in boiling water situation. I don't know. It's fucking crazy. So another thing that he had, and so I know that like maybe a lot of single dudes are going to be mad about this. But this dude, as stinky as he was and as disgusting as his house was, had not one but two girlfriends who he called his fiancées. That's what he called them.
They probably stank too, though.
Well, I'm sure they did.
Yeah.
So the fact that he could get two girlfriends that were willing to like sleep with him, presumably, even though I'm sure he smelled like indescribably gross, that just tells you something right there. Of course, they were both druggies too.
Yeah, they probably knew each other.
Yeah, well, yeah, they did.
Yeah.
But so they hung out there. Now, his main fiance, he never called them girlfriends. He always called them fiancés. His main was named Amber Burch. She was actually better known as Bubbles. And so she was there all the time. And there were just all kinds. I think maybe some of the media stuff that came out like after the murders were discovered, like much later on, might have been exaggerated, but I did see like on interviews like with some of the people that were there were like, yeah, like sometimes he would like kill a rabbit and like rub the blood all over his face and shit like that. He was always trying to do stuff to be shocking. Like it wasn't just the satanic shit, but like they said that earlier on, like, you know, after 9/11 happened and there was like all like everybody was like anti-Muslim and shit. Yeah. Like he started wearing like Muslim-y looking clothes, Islamic style stuff, yeah. And started saying that he converted to Islam and stuff like that. So he was just trying to like piss everyone off and like get up everyone's, like, because everybody in that town kind of knew him or knew of him. He was kind of, I don't want to say famous, but kind of infamous. You know what I mean? So yeah. Now, according to his mom, like I said earlier, he's called a satanic killer because, you know, he had Satan on his arm, which, you know, and there was like, you know, pentagrams and shit like that in his house. But according to his mom, it wasn't exactly Satanist, like the Christian Satan kind of thing. Like he was actually, I don't know if he worshipped it, but he worshipped Tiamat, the Mesopotamian, just a dragon, essentially.
It's creation dragon.
A creation dragon.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so he kind of had his own belief system, which mixed Islam with kind of Mesopotamian era sort of stuff, Luciferianism, that kind of stuff, and also like his own personal delusions. He one time claimed that him and his fiancée, one of them, Bubbles, were the only people of this religion that he had invented.
Yeah, make his own religion.
Yeah. Right. Like, so yeah. And obviously he didn't work. I think he got a little bit of money, like disability, because he had mental illnesses, but it wasn't very much. I think his mom worked, but I don't know what she did like for a living. You know, they could afford the house, but it wasn't really, I don't know how much the house was. It was kind of.
Is this house in a neighborhood or is it out in the fucking back lot somewhere? Where
it was, from what I could see, like pictures of it from when the crime was discovered, like, because it's been torn down now.
Yeah.
It was in a neighborhood, but the houses were kind of as far apart as these ones are in this neighborhood. So it's not, so the houses weren't on top of each other.
Right.
It had like kind of a big-ish yard.
All right.
But even in spite of that, like neighbors did complain multiple times about like, you know, what is all these fucking people hanging out over here? It stinks. All this other kind of shit. And like nothing was really done about it for like a really long time, which, you know, in hindsight, a lot of people were mad about that because it's like, you know, somebody could have intervened like a lot earlier and maybe some people would still be alive. But yeah, one of the things that kind of cracked me up was that on the outside of the door, he had like, it looked like a Halloween decoration that was just kind of like a skull with big bug eyes or something. And then it had a sticker that said, this was on the front door, that said evil will triumph. And I was like, okay. And then there was like this big long sign basically telling law enforcement that they were not welcome. Like, I don't remember what exactly it said, but it was like a big long paragraph about how they were not. And it sounded very, you know, you could tell like kind of a crazy person wrote it. Like all of this law, it almost sounded like some of that sovereign citizen stuff. It kind of sounded like that. Like if I say the right magic words, like that'll keep the fucking cops away or some shit like that. Which I'm not gonna say it might have worked because the cops did not figure out like the murders like for, I think it was like 5 years. Like it took them 5 years, and they came to the house a couple times, but they didn't do jack shit, which kind of, it's crazy. So yeah, So the house, like I said, a disgusting mess. Like the floors were just covered in poop.
What state was this again?
North Carolina.
North Carolina. Okay.
There was just flies everywhere. Like, yeah, they had, those little fly strips that you hang for. They had those, but it was just like coated
with flies.
Like when they went in there at first, and there was just garbage like piled up, like it looked like a hoarder house. You know what I mean? Except like without a bunch of stuff. It was just mostly garbage and shit.
Right.
And dead animals, and crap like that, and just graffiti all over the walls. And so like I said, neighbors had complained for many years about like how shitty the house was getting, how it smelled, and that there was just weird people in and out all the time, but nobody really did much about it. So he had the one girlfriend, Bubbles, and he also had another fiance named Krystal Matlock. And I don't think they all lived there, but I think some of them did crash there for like extended periods of time. You know what I mean? It was, like I said, it was kind of the hangout house. So they did have all of these kind of people just hanging out there. And so I do kind of feel like it was a Manson-esque cult-like environment. Like I said, I don't think I'd go so far as to call it a cult, as in like they all had the same beliefs and they all had the same, because it wasn't like that. It seemed like just a loose conglomeration of people that just hung out over there and did drugs and listened to black metal and shit in the carpet. You know what I mean? But it didn't seem like a belief system as such. I kind of feel like a cult sort of has to have that element, although this did have some elements of that. I don't think any of the people that hung out there really subscribed to any of his wacko religious beliefs. They just were there because of drugs, So yeah, and like I said, I'm not really entirely sure what the deal is with his mom, like how she could live in that house and not do anything about it. But
she was a dirtbag too.
She might have been a dirtbag too.
Of course.
She might have had her own mental health issues because, like I said, a lot of times they run in families.
No, same people don't allow other people to do that around them. You know what I mean? They call fucking some kind of protective services or something.
Yeah, I mean, you would think.
Yeah.
You would think that. So the first murder, well, chronologically, this wasn't the first one. But this was the first one that he kind of became on the police radar for. And he didn't even do it, like, directly. So, in 2010, a guy, he was 30 years old, and his name was Joseph Chandler. And they found his body near the Yadkin River, like, in a park. And he'd been shot. And it so happened that an associate of Pazuzu's, whose name was Nicholas Rizzi, was the one who had done the shooting, but he claimed the shooting was an accident. I don't remember exactly what he said, what happened. If he said, it's like, we were just farting around with the gun and it went off, or something like that. But after the murder, Nicholas was an associate of Pazuzu's, and Pazuzu essentially like harbored him like at the house. So Pazuzu got hauled in as accessory after the fact because he knew that Nicholas had killed that guy and he didn't do anything about it, and he let him stay in the house. So he got in trouble for that, but he only got probation, which, but the thing about it is that this happened in 2010, and unbeknownst to law enforcement, he had already killed 2 people prior to this. They just didn't know. You know what I mean? And this guy was like, this was somebody else that did it. He just like knew about it. So he was hanging out with a bunch of scumbags too, I guess. He was just like attracting them. And then in 2010, Pazuzu was picked up again because he choked his mom out. Like, so he got, it was actually just a misdemeanor assault charge for choking his mom. And she did report him for that. So that incident kind of tells me, and honestly, he did plead guilty to that in 2011 and was put on probation again. And then in late 2011, Amber, aka Bubbles, she also assaulted the mom and got in trouble for that. So it could be that they beat the mom up on a regular basis, and that's why she didn't do anything. I don't really know. But the fact that both him and one of his quote unquote fiancés got in trouble for beating up on the mom, that might tell you something right there. So like I said, the mom might have been afraid of him. I don't really know. So even though multiple people in the neighborhood had complained about the smell around the house, about all the weirdos hanging out there, and even though Pazuzu got arrested for choking his mom out, and then the girlfriend got arrested for beating up the mom, and Pazuzu was involved in that shooting death, that other guy, like that Nicholas had done, still, law enforcement didn't really do anything. Like, they would go to the house, like they did go to the house on at least like one or two prior occasions to when they actually, found the bodies, like later on. But I don't know if they just didn't search all that good, or I think the first time they just went to the house and they didn't have a warrant. And so they were like, hey, do you know about this crime or this, we've heard rumors that, you had something to do with the murder of this guy. And he's just like, nope, don't know anything about it. It's like, well, can we search your house? Actually, they asked Cynthia, the mom, because she's the one that owned the house. And she said no. And so they were like, okay, bye. Like, they didn't pursue it. They didn't try to get a warrant. They didn't try to get any more evidence or anything like that. Not that it would have helped either victim in this case because it was too late for them. But I don't know. It just seemed like they didn't really try that hard. And they said for the 5 years that it took in between the murders that they did and like when the bodies were found, like there were numerous rumors. Like everybody that hung out in that house pretty much knew or had heard that Pazuzu had killed somebody because he would tell you. Like they had an interview with this one girl that went over there one time. She'd gone over there for some reason, like with her friend or something. And she said, as soon as she got on the porch, she's like, the smell would just fucking knock you down. Like she just smelled like death in there. And she's like, so I go in the house, and she said the first thing I said to Pazuzu was, dude, your house smells like death. And he's like, oh yeah, that's the bodies in the basement. They thought he was kidding. He wasn't kidding. But they found out later on. So like I said, everybody that came in the house like knew or had heard. But I think that when they were interviewing like the friends and stuff, they were like, well, I don't think they really believed him, I think they were just kind of like, well, that's just him. You know what I mean? He says crazy shit, like, oh, he's so crazy. Like, I don't think they took him seriously.
Who was it down in the basement?
There were two guys, which, like I said, one guy was in the basement for a while. The other guy, like, I think they just buried him out back. But yeah, so yeah, he wasn't, he absolutely wasn't kidding about that. But because he said so much crazy shit, because he's mentally ill and probably high as balls all the time, I don't think anyone really believed that he had killed anybody. But there were still, like, rumors going around. Everybody had heard him say that. And some people took it seriously enough to report it to law enforcement, but like I said, they didn't seem to do anything about it. Like, they didn't really take it seriously. They never got a warrant to search the property. And so when they said, hey, you can't search the property, you can't search property without a warrant, in the United States. And so they said no, and they were like, okay, well, they couldn't do anything about it.
I guess the cops just thought he was just a local joker who was constantly full of shit. He was just living rough, you know what I mean? They didn't think anything of it.
Yeah, I guess not.
Seriously.
I guess not.
Probably just thought he was just a quack. Which we have him here in the United States.
Yeah, and I mean, and that's the thing. I get it, especially somebody that's that crazy and that much of a druggie. And it's like they probably say all kind of crazy shit all the time. He thought he could control the weather, for Christ's sake. Yeah. So it's like, so obviously you're not going to take everything he says at face value.
He's young. He's listening to black metal music.
Yeah, and he's obviously trying.
He's a Satanist. He's overboard.
And he's obviously trying to be as like offensive as possible, like to get attention.
Cops are probably not gonna take a guy like that seriously.
Yeah. John Gore says the law enforcement not welcome sign worked. That's what I said.
Yeah, yeah.
I was like, they're like, oh, I guess we're not welcome here, guys. Better
Yeah.
go away. You know what I mean?
It's a sovereign citizen.
Yeah.
Sovereign citizen.
I hereby declare that you
Yeah.
may not, like, I don't need a driver's license because
Man, they got a lot of that shit on police activity, that
Yeah.
channel. And they try that as sovereign citizenship. They still just
Oh
fucking
my god,
tag
it's
'em,
so funny. They're
wrap
like,
them up and tag
sorry,
them
that
and
doesn't
fucking
work.
arrest them. No, they don't give a shit.
Those people don't know what they're talking about. Like I said, I think it's like some weird kind of like cargo cult thinking,
Yeah.
like magical thinking, where
Magical thinking. I said this, so therefore you can't arrest
so
me.
therefore you can't do. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, they absolutely can.
Yeah.
Like, just because you don't understand the law doesn't mean they don't. You know what I mean?
It's a whole system,
Yeah.
and you're not part of it.
Yeah, exactly.
They
if you
are.
did something bad, then
Yeah.
absolutely. Tammy says, is there any evidence that his mother was there against her will? I'm not entirely sure about that. I mean,
No, she could come and go. So she
I was gonna say she had a job.
She had a job.
And she left the house every day, as far as I'm aware, like to go to work. And so I don't think he was keeping her there. But I don't know if he had threatened to kill her if she left, or if she said anything, or I'm not really sure. She did report him and the girlfriend for beating her up on 2 separate occasions. So obviously she couldn't have been that cowed, or she wouldn't have reported them.
CB says that the cops didn't believe Ed Gein when he said the first victim was at his home.
That's true too.
Yeah, but that was another era, man, and cops were not ready for somebody like Ed Gein.
That's true.
They'd never seen anything like that.
Well, remember, remember, that was that horrible, that Jeffrey Dahmer one, where that 14-year-old kid, like, got away.
Yeah, and the cops gave him back.
And the cops gave him back to him.
Yeah.
Oh, we're just having a lover spat, and then that
Yeah.
kid got murdered.
Yeah.
I can't fucking
He
believe
had
that.
a hole drilled in his head, too.
Yeah.
The cops didn't notice.
Nope. I was like, that just, like, breaks my heart every time I hear that fucking story. That's so fucking horrible. Because it's like, that kid probably, if he could really think, he was probably, like, freaked out by then. But he was like, oh, I got away. And then the cops are like, nope. Right back to the serial killer you go.
Yeah.
Have fun. Good luck. You know, and it was, Jesus Christ. That's horrible. Fucking horrible. John Gore says, sounds like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre house, just scuzzier, not as wholesome. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, worse than that house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, this definitely had,
Worse.
I mean, there was dead animals just like in
Yeah.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I don't remember as much poop,
Yeah, they were shitting in the corners.
as far as we know.
Yeah.
Although it wouldn't shock me if they did. They seemed pretty gross. But, you know what I mean? Joe Saturn said, did you watch the Devil You Know series? Yeah, I saw the first 3. Wasn't it 5 episodes? I thought. I saw the first 3 because the 3 were on Daily Motion. So I watched all of those. Oh, and I saw the 4th part too that was like an update, because somebody put that on YouTube. I think Vice put that on YouTube. So if it was just 4 episodes, then I saw all of them, yeah. But the 4th one was just kind of like a follow-up, like everyone talking about his death and like what they had done subsequently and things like that. So the first 3 were kind of where the meat of the story was. So yeah, so I feel like for a long time, despite all of these rumors going around and despite all these complaints, you know, the cops didn't really do much of anything. And so we already talked about the murder that his friend Nicholas Rizzi was involved in, which he said was accidental, and I don't think I buy that. However, prior to that, in 2009, they had actually done 2 murders. As far as we're aware, Pazuzu did one and Amber did one. But both of them were involved, you know, in the murders, like in getting rid of the bodies and shit like that. But their bodies weren't found for like 5 years. So these 2 guys, and it's really weird because no one's entirely sure why they killed these 2 guys. You know what I mean? Like, they don't really know. So one guy was named Joshua Wetzler. He was 37 years old. And one guy was named Tommy Welch. He was 36. And so the first murder happened this was Joshua Wetzler. This happened in the summer of 2009. Now, he was from Winston-Salem. And he was a dad. He had had a kid with his girlfriend, and he had been hanging out at Pazuzu's house for whatever reason. Actually, Joshua's story is pretty sad, and they talk to his girlfriend like pretty extensively on most of the documentaries. Him and his girlfriend had bought a farm. They were gonna rehabilitate horses, so they had like a horse farm. And they loved animals, and they were very philanthropic, and they were gonna make this work. But not too long afterward, the economy went to shit, and they didn't have any money, and the business started going under. And so Joshua started selling drugs. I mean, it's a small town. There's not a lot to do around there, not a lot of jobs. And so he started selling drugs. And he wasn't even selling hard drugs. He was basically just selling pot and mushrooms, which are like nothing. And the sad thing about it is that even though it was just pot and mushrooms, he got busted and jailed. And I think because of the particular charge, I think they charged him with a felony, which is bullshit. And then after he got out, because he had a felony conviction, nobody would give him a job again, which kind of made the whole thing spiral downwards. And people have speculated that maybe that's how he ended up in Pazuzu's orbit. Like maybe he realized he was going to have to start selling harder drugs or something like that. They don't really know how he ended up hanging out with these lowlifes, because everybody said, he was a nice dude. He wasn't, he sold minor drugs, but not anything. I mean, they were doing like heroin and meth and shit like that. He wasn't doing anything like that. And so
she's going to attack in your shoe.
It's all right. It's okay. Just don't
do it.
Like I said, it's a lot more.
Yeah.
You just let her do it. It's fine.
Tear up your shoe.
Well,
Kitty's tearing up shoes. Those cost money.
I know that, but
yeah.
But yeah, so he somehow ended up hanging out with these people. No one's entirely sure how. And at some stage, Joshua was at Pazuzu's house, and Pazuzu just shot him in the head. Like he was sitting on the couch, and he just shot him in the head. Some reports say it was once. Some reports say he shot him multiple times. They think it was somewhere in June or July of 2009. No one's entirely sure, because by the time they found the body, it was so deteriorated that they couldn't tell. They think that Pazuzu, like as usual, was drunk and high as balls at the time, and that maybe some kind of argument ensued or something, but they're not entirely sure why. Now, here's what's crazy. The mom, Cynthia, was home when this happened. And reportedly, she heard a gunshot. She came out of her room, saw Pazuzu holding the gun on him, on Joshua, and then turned around and went back in her room, got ready for work, and left. And she even heard her son say, "I'm going to finish him off." Like, heard him say that. And then she just turned around and left the house and went to work like nothing happened. So, yeah. I'm not... I don't know what to say about that.
What was her explanation?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I said, it was really weird. There was a little bit of her on this, I think it was on the Vice documentary. There was like a little clip of an interview with her. And she was actually it wasn't the Vice documentary. It was this other documentary I was watching. It had like a clip of her. And she, after Pazuzu died, she was reading some letters that she had gotten from him when he was in prison. And she was reading them, and the letters were saying shit like, "Oh, this friend of mine, he's such a piece of shit, and I should do this and that and the other." And she was just like laughing like it was the funniest shit ever. And I was just like, this lady is unhinged. I don't know what the hell is the matter with her. But like I said, maybe she was, I don't know. Maybe she was trapped in the house too. Maybe they had some kind of weird fucking relationship. She always tried to like defend him. It's like saying, he had mental health issues. He wasn't a bad guy. Like all this other kind of shit. I was like, yeah, I mean, that was the case. He definitely had mental health issues, and he should have gotten help. But it's like, that doesn't really excuse just shooting somebody in the face, like in cold fucking blood on the fucking sofa, does it? You know what I mean? I don't care how fucking drunk or high you were. So yeah. Now, Joshua, reportedly, they hid his body in the basement for a little while, hence the body's in the basement. So like I said, he wasn't lying about that. And apparently he put like fucking cat litter and stuff like over it so it wouldn't smell as much, like anyone would notice. Because the house fucking smelled so bad anyway. It's just like, oh, another stink to go on top of all the other stink. You know what I mean? But no one's entirely sure how long he was in the basement, because then um him and like Pazuzu and his two fiancées, Amber and Krystal, apparently took the body out to the backyard and just buried him like in a shallow grave. Like pretty it was pretty bullshit. Like they just dug a little hole, threw him in there, like threw some dirt over it, and then like threw over like some animal bones and shit. And there was so much crap in the yard that it's like seemed like nobody really noticed, you know? So, as I said, I don't really know like why he killed this guy. Nobody knows why the guy was there hanging out with them. Like I said, all of his friends and family were like, we don't know why he would be hanging out over there with those people, because they weren't the kind of people he would be hanging out with. But it probably had something to do with the drug connection, I would imagine. Um, but after this happened, like Pazuzu would brag about killing him. Um, a few times he called him a snitch, or that he just killed him just because he was rejecting humanity, man, or something like that. So a few months after that, um, they think somewhere around early October 2009, is when the second murder happened. And this guy was Tommy Welch, 36. He was from that small town, Clemmons. And they think that he was killed sometime between October 2nd and October 5th. Now, in this case, they're pretty sure that Amber, aka Bubbles, was the one who pulled the trigger. That she actually shot Tommy in the head like a bunch of times. However, Pazuzu was there and helped drag the body, and I don't think they put him in the basement first. I think they just took him right out to the backyard and buried it like in another shallow grave, like near Joshua's grave. Now, this particular one, again, they're not really entirely sure what Tommy was doing there. Like, I think he was just going. I think he just disappeared when he was like on his way somewhere. Like, I think he had a family and shit like that, and he was just like in a car, like going someplace, like to a relative's house, and he just disappeared. And then he just ended up here for whatever reason. So they're not really sure why he went there or if he got kidnapped or whatever. But he just ended up there. There has been speculation that there was maybe a planned armed robbery or some kind of drug related conflict, involving meth or something like that with this guy, but they're not really sure what the connection was, again, because his friends were just kind of like, no one really knew what he was doing there. They also think that Pazuzu's mother was in the house when this murder happened as well, but there's not as much information about
This dude's
that.
killing people while his mom's home.
I know, right? You think it's like, oh my god, my mom's here. I can't murder people when my mom's home.
Man, his mom is home, but he's murdering people.
I guess he was, he rightfully knew that she wouldn't do anything.
She would do anything,
because
yeah.
she didn't.
Yeah.
What the reason for that is, I don't know. But I don't know. It kind of blows my mind. I can't even imagine.
They were dependent on each other.
Yeah, it must have been some kind of fucking weird relationship, because the way that she talked in the brief clips of interviews and stuff that I saw with her, like the way she talked about him, she was one of those
emotionally dependent.
Yeah, I think she was one of those mothers that was just kind of like, he couldn't do anything wrong, or she always had an excuse for him. Like she always defended no matter what he did. You know what I mean? Was like, oh, he had problems and I couldn't really afford to get him help and stuff like that. I was just like, while that may be true, you know what I mean? This is like not, you can't excuse this kind of shit. So now both of these guys were separately, obviously, reported missing in 2009, the year that they were murdered by, friends and family. But even though there were rumors going around, even from the time the murders happened, that Pazuzu had done it or that it happened in his house, um, like I said, the cops didn't really do anything about it.
Yeah.
You know?
We have all of Norway in the comments.
Well, two people from Norway.
No, that's all of Norway. That's the only ones that matter. Yeah.
Yeah, Tiny said Pazuzu was a disgusting human being, period. Yes, I have made a deep dive.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean...
Pazuzu.
Why would you change your name to that? I mean, it just sounds so silly.
He's a tryhard.
That's very tryhard.
Yeah.
Yeah, because remember, and I've said this multiple times, it's like, it's bad enough you have to be like a fucking murderer, a serial killer, or whatever. It's just like, why do you have to be so edgelordy about it? It's just like, that just adds that extra cringe factor.
He's a great housekeeper, too.
Evidently.
That's what I
was thinking.
Yeah.
Can you imagine having to call like Merry Maids or something like that to come over there and clean the place up, and they'd be like, nope.
Yeah.
Well, they had to tear the house down at the end. Well, that happens a lot on hoarders too.
Yeah.
Because you can't have like kind of fucking biohazard in your house for that many years. The floor will collapse. And actually, like when on the footage of the police footage, when they first went in the house, in some of the rooms the ceiling was collapsing.
Yeah.
And there was mold everywhere.
All that shit and piss.
Yeah.
Eating through the fucking roof.
Yeah.
Nasty fuckers.
Yeah, I mean, that's like ammonia, and it's just kind of like there's all kind of, the floor was collapsing in some of the rooms, and like there was just fucking garbage. Like the windows were all covered up with newspaper and black bags and shit like that.
Fucking white folks, man.
I know. I was like, God. Seriously.
No, man, this is just universal nastiness.
It is. I can't even imagine.
Satanic level nastiness.
I can't even imagine. Like I said, I can't imagine how you would even go in there without just your gag reflex, just because.
I don't know.
Holy crap.
It's all them drugs.
Okay, this is kind of.
I beat that bitch up.
I mean, this is pretty gross, like, but I mean, not as gross as what we're talking about right here, but other morning, I came in the bathroom, and every now and then, I'm not sure which kitty it is, pretty sure it's Bambi. Every now and then, she'll go to, like, poop in the litter box, and she'll either get startled or something like that, and she'll kind of miss, you know what I mean? So, yesterday, or the day before, like, I come in the bathroom where the litter box is, and there's most of the poop was in the litter box. However, there was a whole bunch of it on the side of the bathtub, and then like a whole bunch of it on the floor. So I don't know if she just like turned around and rubbed her butt all over the bath. I don't know what it was. But even that,
I think one kitty attacked the other kitty while they were going to bath.
Yeah, because Pookie
fighting over.
Kind of like, I think she just thinks it's funny. I don't think she's doing it to be mean. I think like when one of them uses the litter box, then it's like, hee, I'm gonna get in there. I was like, you know what I mean? And like scare them out of the litter box. And like sometimes that's not great because, they'll get poop everywhere. It's only happened like maybe 3 times, like the whole time we've had Bambi. But it happened like a day or 2 yesterday. And even that was just like a smear of, I know it's gross, a smear of cat shit on the side of the bathtub. That, and I was just gagging and gagging and gagging. Was it because obviously I have to clean it up, right? But it's just kind of like I just couldn't stop gagging like the whole time. So just that little bit of nastiness, that little bit of filth just made me gag uncontrollably. So I can't imagine being like even walking up to a house where, the cop was walking up to the house and was saying Christ almighty, like while he was still in the yard. Like he could smell it from out there, like before they even opened the door or anything. And so I can't imagine. I would not be able to be in that house like at all. And I can't imagine what that shit is doing to your lungs and shit like that. That's why they all had to wear fucking hazmat suits and gas masks and shit like that when they went in there. Although the cops, when they first went in there, didn't have that. I don't know how they did it, to be honest with you. John Gore says, I blacked out the curtains in my TV room. Yeah, we have, they're not blackout curtains, but we have like really dark curtains and like really like dark gray thick blinds, because I don't want, and it keeps it cooler in the house too, like because we live in Florida and it's hot as balls here, so your electric bill is lower if you keep, the kitties don't like it because they like sunbeams, so they like big sunbeams all over the floors, they can lay in them and look out the windows and stuff, but during the day we have to keep like all the blinds down and all the curtains pulled shut because it just gets too hot in here, like even with the air on. So it keeps the electric bill lower if you keep all the lights out. And honestly, I'm not a big sunlight fan anyway. I don't think as long as we've lived here, I've never. I think the only time I ever opened those windows was when we had that hurricane and the power was out for a few days, and like I opened it to get some air in here. But that was the only time I've ever done it because I like it dark, you know.
Yeah, and American houses are not made for natural ventilation. We're made for central air conditioning.
Yeah,
They're made for that. Which maybe if you're European, I don't know what Norway's like, but I know that Germany, none of the houses are actually made for air conditioning, and Germans don't believe in air conditioning. I think it's unhealthy for you. And Germans also like to suffer. Okay. They would evidently not run air conditioning, be hot as fuck or cold as fuck, you know. But Americans don't like to suffer. We're gonna put air conditioning on. And if you ran this house without air conditioning, with people in it, 20 years later, this house would be ruined.
well, honestly,
they're not made for that.
Even with the power out, like from
Yeah.
that hurricane, the power was only out for like 2 days or something like that. You know,
Yeah.
it's like the carpet stank.
Yeah.
Like it smelled like a wet dog.
Mold
Mold
starts to
starts
appear.
growing.
Yep.
Like you have to have air conditioning. You have to
To
have
keep it dry.
like dehumidifier or
Yeah.
something because it's like otherwise every single thing will have mold on it like
Yeah.
immediately.
Florida is for most of the year like between 90 and 100% humidity.
Yeah, it's
For
like
most
wet.
of the year. Wet.
Your walls like
Hot.
sweat.
Yeah. And just you know, Florida was uninhabited in any large number until the advent of air conditioning. Air conditioning made Florida habitable. Literally.
I saw somebody the other day that said that were from Florida, and they said a good way to imagine what the humidity is like. They're like, okay, right now, go take a hot shower, like super hot water, then just get out and don't dry off. Just put your clothes on.
Yeah.
And I was like,
That's good, yeah.
yeah, that's pretty accurate.
I had this British guy named Carl Benjamin. He was he took his family here for a trip to Disney Disney World, and he's in the Disney World fucking hotel, and he opens up the balcony, he gets up on the balcony, and he says, I cannot believe it. It's like Satan's ass crack out here. I've never seen any heat. I've never been in any heat like this.
It's very heavy.
And he goes, look behind me. It's a swamp. And Disneyland's right. Disney World's right there.
Yeah.
He goes, yeah. Disney World's built in the middle of a swamp.
Yeah,
it was a swamp.
It used
before.
to be a swamp.
It looks like the
A literal swamp.
yeah. It's kind of like the Amazon River basin in Brazil. It's fucking hot, humid.
Yeah, it's just everything is damp. Like I said, even when I take a shower, and I don't really like super hot water. I like it like kind of lukewarm. I get out and dry off within 5 minutes, I'm already sweating.
Yeah.
And we have AC on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it starts to sweat like under my boobs start sweating and shit like that. It's horrible.
I'll have the AC on full blast in the middle of summer with the with the temperature set to 71 degrees Fahrenheit, which is cool, okay, for us. And in the middle of the day, towards the end of the day, about 3 o'clock in the afternoon to about 5, it's still 75 in here. They can't keep this house at 71. It's too hot out there.
Yeah, it struggles.
It's almost 100 degrees and 100% humidity.
Yeah.
100 degrees Fahrenheit, 100% humidity.
And we got new AC. So.
We got a brand new AC.
And we got two of them, one for
2 of 'em.
downstairs and one for upstairs.
Yeah. So, but it can't keep it. It can't keep it at 71. It's going to be up to about 75. But you still have to run it to get the humidity out of the air.
Yeah. Yeah, because
Keep
like
it
I said,
dry
if you
here.
don't have that, like you will have
Everything will start to
you will
warp.
have mold growing
Yeah.
on every available surface.
Yep.
Like almost immediately.
Yep. That house next to us, those people died. I set that house up, and they still got people coming taking stuff out of it. They're putting that house on the market. The people who are kind of like next to kin are taking care of it. But that AC in there is running
Yeah.
at 75 degrees.
Yeah.
But it's just to keep the
To keep everything from molding.
keep everything from molding. Yeah.
Because you can't just leave it.
Right.
And like I said, there was some carpet in there too. And that'll mold.
Yeah,
And it'll
just-
start to smell. And that only takes a couple of days. Because we just had power out a couple of days and the carpet started to stink.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it got damp.
Yeah, it's got damp. There's dirt in there, and your vacuum cleaner can't get it all out.
Yeah.
And when you add water to it, guess what? You got soil.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got soil, and I think shit will start growing in it.
Yeah, it's like you probably get mushrooms and shit.
Yeah,
from
but
there.
yeah.
John Gora said, I once had to clean half frozen dingleberries off my cat's butt. Gross, but that's love. Yeah, I mean, it's totally disgusting, but you know, obviously, I don't. You love them, so you just wait. Poor Pookie, she had because you know how some dogs and cats, like, if they don't eat enough fiber, like they'll get the anal gland, like, will get all swollen.
Yeah.
And Pookie had that happen one time where her little anal gland, and I didn't notice it, and then like it burst.
Yeah.
And so her poor little butt was like, she just had like, it was all bloody, and she was like, ah, and then like, so I had to like wipe everything, and she was freaking out. Oh,
Klaus says that they have air conditioning in Norway. Yeah. And, I think actually somebody said that there's a German guy talking about he moved here to Florida. He has a good channel. He was talking about how the Germans don't know what the fuck they're talking about when it comes to American houses. He says that American houses are made for comfort and air conditioning and stuff, and the Germans don't really have that. But he said that the Germans are full of shit, saying that American houses are inferior to German houses because, you know, Germans are into superiority. That's just what they do, right? But he said that American houses are very similar to Swedish and Norwegian type houses. That in Scandinavia, the new constructions are pretty much the same as a new American construction, with sheetrock and wood and insulation and central air conditioning, and so it's like that. And they can last a long time. They can last over 100 years, a house like this, but they're not designed to last 100 years. Because if you look at American housing market, the houses that were top houses in the 80s and the best neighborhoods in the 80s, those neighborhoods are now ghettos. So it didn't matter if that house would last because the property it's sitting on isn't any good. You know? So there's no reason to build a house to last 100 years in America. Because 30 years later, that house is not going to be worth what it was. It's not going to be in a prime location. When people buy a house, they want a brand new house. They want to be the first one. And here in the United States, they want a new house in a brand new neighborhood, away from the other ones. So it's constantly moving around in the U.S. That's how the market is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Klaus says they have carpet. Well,
yeah, we have carpet.
I wish we didn't. The downstairs
is tile.
Is tile.
Yeah.
But except for there's a bedroom downstairs that has carpet.
Yeah.
But all of the downstairs is tile except for that one bedroom.
Yeah.
But unfortunately upstairs is all carpet except for the bathrooms.
All wall-to-wall carpet. That's what the houses come with.
Yeah. And I don't really like carpet.
Yeah, but
it's just too hard to keep clean.
That's just what they come with. It's cheap.
Yeah, it's cheaper than
It's cheap
nice
and it's
flooring.
insulated.
But, you know.
Yeah.
One of these days. Maybe. I don't know if I'd want to spend all that money on it because that would cost
a lot of money.
That would cost $1 bajillion.
Yeah.
To like have all this carpet torn out and like put fucking flooring in here. But
the carpets are made to be disposable. You replace them every few years.
Yeah.
But, you know, a lot of people don't do it. It's still expensive to replace carpeting.
Yeah, I mean everything's expensive. Like when you're having shit done on your house.
Yeah.
And it's just getting more and more expensive. But I would rather
the houses are not made to order.
Have floor.
An entire neighborhood is thrown up at a single time. It's not made to order, and you go in there and you buy a house, and you're the first person to live in it. It's not customized. You customize it once you're in there. If you didn't like that carpet, then you put in some flooring. That's what they have downstairs.
Yeah.
But your bathrooms and kitchen spaces and your garage, that's not going to have carpet. It's going to have some kind of tile of some sort.
That'd be pretty weird to put carpet in
Yeah, you can't put carpet
kitchen
in.
and bathroom.
Right.
Although I did live in an apartment in Daytona Beach that had carpet in the bathroom.
Yeah.
I thought that was the weirdest shit ever.
That was popular through the 80s.
Yeah, that was the only place I ever lived that had that, and like
Yeah.
even when I moved in, and that was like in the 80s.
Yeah.
I was just kind of like, what the fuck?
They thought carpet should be everywhere, including around the toilet.
I was like,
how the fuck do you clean
and the
that?
bathtub and shit like that. I'm like, what? You want mold? Because that's how you get mold. Like, I don't understand. Like,
They weren't thinking. They just
wet
did
carpet.
it. Like,
Yay.
they just did it.
Like I said, it smelled like a wet dog in there all the
Yeah.
time. You couldn't like dry it off. It was horrible.
I
Klaus,
never had that problem.
Klaus wants us to send him a Mustang.
It's all kinds of Mustangs. Huh? You can get the 2004 that 2004 flat nosed Mustang, ones that look like an old 64 now. You can get those now. The V6s for nothing, like $1,500. Running, it's all there. It's gonna need new paint. You have to change interior, but the GTs, the V8s, they're always a little bit more. You could probably get a 2004 GT for about $3,000.
John Gore says, did you guys see Begonia? It's really good, worth a review. I've been wanting to see that, actually. I will probably review it at some point in the near future, because I really do want to see that. Because I've reviewed a couple of that dude's other movies. Yorgos Lanthimos, right? Yeah.
The GTs, the V8s are more. They didn't make as many of them. But I like the 2004 to 2008, that model. You can get one for about $3,000. That's running in okay condition. A real good one's going to cost you more, Guys that have been modified.
No, he says he wants one for free. I would also like $1 billion put in my account, please, and thank you.
Mustangs are common here. They're still cool though. That's an everyman car. They're still cool.
Tammy said, I was so happy when we tore up the carpet in this house and found hardwood floors.
Oh, yeah.
Grandma had shag carpet in every room. Yeah. Ugh. Man, the 70s, they were all about that fucking shag carpet. It was so luxurious.
Yeah.
Because it's so soft.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, and it's a fucking germ catcher, too.
As an upgrading, yeah.
It's a dirt catcher. This is what that is.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that a lot of shit that they build, especially like apartments and stuff like that I've seen that were either new construction or were newly renovated, they don't put carpet in a lot of stuff anymore. But this house is what, 11, 12 years old?
Yeah,
I think something like that.
It's got a lot of carpeting.
And this one still has all the upstairs is carpeted.
No,
except the
bathrooms.
bathrooms, obviously. But like I said, that seems like it goes without saying, because why the fuck would you put a carpet in the bathroom unless you're a weirdo? Like I said, the apartment that I lived in the late 80s that had carpet in the bathroom.
Yeah.
That was like an old Florida. It was like a block back from the beach.
Yeah.
And I don't even know when that building was from. Like 50s probably.
Yeah.
It was 50s era. And it had fucking maybe 60s. Like, I'm trying to think of what the architecture looked like, but even when I moved in there, I was just kind of like, I mean, it was cheap, but I was like, why the fuck would you put carpet in the bathroom? Like, who thought that was a good idea? I don't know. All right, so let me see. Where was I? Okay. So these two guys disappeared. We know what happened to them. And were reported missing in 2009. And there were, like I said, rumors going around that it's like, oh, they're buried in Pazuzu's backyard. And the cops were like, pshaw, nuh-uh. Yeah. We're not going to check. Or they'd go check and it was like super half-assed. Oh, we kind of looked around and we didn't see anything and it's just bullshit, whatever. But finally, in 2014, somebody came to them. A lot of people have speculated it's because he knew he had hung out at that house, but I think maybe they listened to him because he was a veteran. He's a military guy. And so maybe they thought that he was more trustworthy than like just a regular ass druggie, like all the other people that were coming there. I don't really know. But for whatever reason, he came there and said, look, I'm pretty sure, like, he told me that there are people buried in his backyard, that he's killed people, and it's like, y'all need to do something about it. So finally, in 2014, they get a warrant and go out and, like, start searching the property. And not too long into the search, because, the bodies weren't hidden, like, to any great, it was just shallow graves, like, out in the stinky-ass backyard. So they found shit pretty quick. By this time, it had been 5 years, so obviously the bodies were pretty much just skeletons. Um, and they were able to identify them as Joshua Wetzler and Tommy Welch, the two guys who had disappeared. They also found a bunch of animal bones out there because I think they threw a bunch of animal bones like over the shallow graves, like to distract from it or whatever. So finally, they arrest Pazuzu and Amber, aka Bubbles. Um, so it was murder charges and accessory after the fact, and they also arrested his other fiance, Krystal Matlock, and she was also charged as an accessory. They don't think that she directly killed anybody, but they're pretty sure she was involved in like helping bury the bodies and shit like that. Not too long after that, not surprisingly, the house was condemned because it was uninhabitable. That's what happens when you let people shit in the corner. Pro tip. So yeah, so autopsies were obviously able to confirm that gunshot wounds were the cause of death for both the victims. But that was about all they could find out, other than identifying them and finding out the cause of death. They, I think they used dental records and shit like that. And because of the salaciousness, I guess, of the case, it kind of made national news, because it's like, oh, the dude's a Satanist. He has fucking filed down teeth and a big Satan tattoo on his arm, and the house being like fucking disgusting. And so the whole case started being known as like the House of Horrors. They started calling the house that. And there had also been rumors that they had been like doing cannibalism, but I'm not sure if that was ever, because they said that there was no evidence of cannibalism like on the bodies, like there's no gnaw marks on the bones or
Just
nothing.
sounds like a good thing to accuse them of.
But yeah, but I mean, what they did was bad enough. Like it
Yeah.
wouldn't shock me if they hadn't eaten parts of people. But as far as I know, there's like no solid evidence saying that there was any cannibalism going on. But like I said, it's just at this point, what does it matter? Because it's like they did so much horrible shit that it's like, yeah, cannibalism. Okay, sure, why not? You know what I mean? And I think that Pazuzu kind of fueled that himself by kind of saying, "It's like, oh yeah, I eat people, blah blah," because and well, that's kind of the crazy thing is that yeah, he said a bunch of stuff that was bullshit, but he, oh, I can control the weather, but he did say about, oh, the body in the basement and I killed this guy and stuff like that, and people thought he was full of shit with that too, but he wasn't. So there's no telling like what shit he said was true and what shit he said was just him trying to like be fucking, special. I don't know. Now, so Pazuzu was actually already on probation for because he was an accessory in the Joseph Chandler murder that his friend Nicholas had done for harboring that guy. And so because he had, they knew that he had had so many mental health issues, if you want to call it that. They actually first they did competency evaluations because they want to see, is he competent to stand trial? Is he too mentally ill? Did he know what he was doing wrong and shit like that? And I've talked about this before. I'm not, obviously I'm not a legal scholar or anything like that, but from my understanding, and it depends on the state, like the jurisdiction, but I know that like a lot of movies and stuff like that will make it seem like, oh, insanity defense, but it's really, really, really hard to get off with something using an insanity defense, because really the long and short of it is, to get away with something you have to prove that you legitimately didn't know what you were doing was bad or was wrong. And even if you have severe mental health issues, schizophrenia, anything like that, if there is any evidence at all that shows that you tried to cover up the crime or lie about it or something like that, you are not going to get an insanity defense, because the fact that you tried to cover it up shows that you knew it was bad, that you knew it was wrong, and you knew you'd get in trouble. So that negates your whole insanity defense right there. But they still do have to, so people with severe mental health issues like this, they usually do have to do a competency evaluation. So they did do one on him, and they did deem him competent to stand trial, even though, like I said, he displayed schizotypal personality disorder type thing, paranoia, delusions. You know, obviously he was a bad druggie and a drunk and things like that. And that was kind of the tack that his defense went with, that he was just so fucked up that he wasn't really responsible for his actions. So that was how they were gonna go. But as it turned out, they didn't really need to use the defense because Pazuzu Algarad actually never stood trial. And about a year after he was arrested, and just a few days before he was scheduled to do a court appearance in late October of 2015, they found him in his cell in Raleigh, North Carolina, unresponsive. They found him about 3 a.m, like during a routine head count. And he had somehow inflicted a very deep wound to his arm. Most of the reports I said he had used some instrument, but they never found out what it was. They haven't really released any details about how he did it, but most of the speculation I saw said that he used his teeth. Because I believe that other inmates and friends of his had said he had attempted suicide many times before and attempted to like gnaw through. Because remember, he had his teeth filed down to points.
Yeah.
So that seemed, because like I said, they, as far as I know, they never found any instrument or how he would have got hold of anything like that where he could make where he could cut open his arm like that. So I think that he probably used his teeth to do that.
Klaus asked a good question.
What's that?
Why is this crazy sick shit always happening in the U.S.? I can answer it. The U.S. is fucking geographically large. Okay, it's big. A lot of it's rural. It has a good information network, so you have internet connection. If anything like this happens, you find out about it. It's not a surveillance state. So there's a higher level of privacy. So this is happening in North Carolina. It's semi-rural. It's kind of like out in the middle of nowhere. He has access to things like a house, electricity, running water. The police kind of don't have direct access to him unless there's a complaint. Then they show up and they go, wow, look at this shit. The same kind of thing happens in South America too. It's just you don't hear much about it because it may never be discovered, like in Brazil. When it is discovered, the news doesn't travel very far in Brazil. I grew up partially in Brazil too, so there's a lot of Brazil and the United States are the same size geographically, but there are some differences culturally and just the way the infrastructure is set up. A lot of Brazil isn't accessible. It's in Rio Amazonas, Mato Grosso, the big swamp. For instance, if this were to happen in Brazil, it would happen, but you'd never find out about it. The situation's a little bit, it's different there. The cops would discover it, but the information would never really hit national news in Brazil. So the international news doesn't know about it. Like, for instance, there are serial killers in South America. It's just that you don't know about them. You don't hear about them.
I mean, we got enough of our own, I guess.
Yeah.
You don't hear much about ones from other countries.
They had one serial killer in South America that just targeted children, and evidently he killed hundreds of them. They caught him. But that story didn't really go north. It didn't go global. Remember that guy? Remember that guy's name? We covered him.
Yeah, I just don't remember what his name was.
He was just some pedo, and he evidently killed hundreds of kids. And got away with it. And then went to jail and got out. Some kind of weird shit like that. It's just weird.
Tiny says, Joseph Fritzl was Austrian. Bad things happen everywhere, to be fair. Yeah, did we do a show on him? I know he was on the list, but I don't remember if we did that show yet or not.
The guy who made the underground thing for his daughter?
It might have been, yeah. If it was, then we did do a show about that guy. That was fucked up. But yeah, and the weird thing about it is that like there's lists on, you go on Wikipedia, they have serial killers by country, so you can go and like look at different ones and like how, like what their kill count is and shit like that if you're into that kind of thing. Um, but sometimes we'll hear about murders or a serial killer from another country, like here, but it's always like kind of strange which ones we hear about and which ones we don't. But I guess
Yeah.
that's kind of true with the American ones too, because sometimes,
Yeah.
because you know, I'm pretty familiar with a lot of the big serial killer names and shit, but then every now and then I'll come across one that I'm like, oh, I never heard of this guy, and he killed like fucking
Yeah.
way more people than some of the more quote unquote famous ones. And I'm like, well, why doesn't anybody know this guy but they know this other one? You know, like it seems like there's no rhyme or reason to like why some
Yeah.
people remember. I mean, I know sometimes, like, if there's, like, really lurid, like, you
Yeah.
know, John Wayne Gacy with the clown thing and, you know, under the crawl space, and, like, when there's details like that, I get that, but sometimes, like, we've done shows about serial killers that are, like, not on anyone's radar, and they did even more fucked up shit than some of the more famous ones, and I
would
don't get
say
it.
the main difference between American serial killers and foreign serial killers from other countries is the car, the access to vehicles and a road system. A lot of the shit that American serial killers do, they couldn't have done that if they didn't own their own car and they didn't have a vast American road network system. That has a lot to do with it. Because Russian serial killers look very different on paper because they don't have their own cars. And they don't have access to roads. So the way they do things is very different. Like what was it, Chikatilo? He was just killing women in parks, if I remember correctly. That was most of it. Then they had the other guy who was sawing little boys' feet in half after he'd hang them. And he was doing it because he had access to those kids. He was like a counselor or a mentor. Remember that guy?
Yeah,
He'd hang the boys and then fucking saw their feet out in half and shit with their shoes on. Just weird shit like that. He'd film it. So the way the serial killer manifests himself and his signature is going to be very different in the United States. It's going to be very car oriented.
Yeah, that's why like so many long haul truck drivers
Yeah.
turn out to be serial killers.
Yeah.
Not a lot, it's a tiny percentage, but it's just there's a lot of long haul truckers. If you're a serial killer, that's a line of work that you might want to get into because
if you're in a country where most of the population is using public transportation, the way that serial killer is going to operate is going to look very different. And he's not going to be able to do what an American serial killer can do. Because that the access to a privately owned vehicle just magnifies the body count of what a serial killer can do.
Well, I would even argue that the sort of quote unquote heyday of serial killers, like why there was such an explosion of them, like perhaps in the 60s and 70s.
60s, 70s, yeah.
Some of that was lead exposure. Some of it was, World War II veterans coming back and being like mentally fucked up or whatever, like the children of those people. And a lot of it had to do with the highway system.
Yeah.
Too, because it was just
big
road system. Like all of these roads that opened up, you could drive relatively anonymously from one end of the country to the other. And, you could stop along the way at all these little places and like kill somebody and then just keep on going and nobody would ever catch you.
Foreigners, even from Europe, come here and they're just astounded at the American road system. That we have paved roads of good quality that don't seem to really go anywhere and that are not there for any reason. You can find paved roads in places like Mississippi or Alabama and stand on that road and a car won't go by for an hour. And it's a paved road. For a serial killer, that's that's beautiful because you can drive from one place to another in privacy. Nobody sees you coming or going. You can cover a long distance and then get back. Nobody's noticed you. So it makes their hunting a lot easier. So freedom, physical freedom, helps serial killers. Freedom is dangerous. That's just how it is.
And there's a lot of places too where there's just like I said, like nobody around.
No one's around, yeah.
And especially there's like long stretches of highway with like nobody.
Yeah.
Or like you could just pull off the side of the road and nobody
dump
would
a
see
body,
you.
and that body would not be discovered for years and years.
And it happens.
If ever. Yeah.
It happens all the time.
Yeah. There are places to where if a person knows their area, you could dump a body there and it would never be discovered.
And I'm sure there's
Yeah.
bodies out there that will never
that
be
have never been
found.
discovered. Yeah.
Especially like I feel like out west, like in all the
Yeah.
mountains and canyons and shit like
Yeah.
that. It's like you could they would never
It
find
would never
anybody
be
in a million
discovered,
years.
and it would be near a road. That's
Yeah.
the weird. That's the thing that people don't realize. He just stops a car, drags it out of the car, only goes maybe fucking 25 meters, leaves the body on the ground, and then gets back in the car, and the body never found.
Yeah.
And it's not even hidden. The animals get it. And there's no traffic on that road. And why would you pick that area over any other area of all these damn roads, you know? And it's not like the serial killer used his brains or anything. He just knew a desolate area, you know? They're never going to build anything on that area. It's just a road.
John Gorsuch asked an interesting question. Is cannibalism technically illegal? I mean, is there a law?
Probably not.
You know what? That's a good question.
think so.
I'm not sure. Because look, it's, you know, obviously if you are a serial killer and you kill somebody and eat them, like that's a different story. But what if,
right.
but yeah, but like what if it was a situation where, you know, like I said, you're in a plane crash or something like that. And
I
you're
don't
out in
think
the
it
mi-
is.
Yeah,
No.
like those like rugby players or whatever that crashed in the Andes and like ended up having to eat the dead people.
And ritual cannibalism isn't part of our culture, so they wouldn't have laws even controlling that.
Now I'm gonna have to look that up. Somebody look that up. Because now I'm kind of
you
interested.
might be able to argue that that's desecration of the body.
It might be that, but I think that's just a misdemeanor.
Yeah, and then you'd have, but the thing is that if you were starving and it was like a plane crash and you're eating the bodies, they wouldn't charge you. You'd never be
Well,
charged.
yeah, you wouldn't be charged for that
You'd be
because
charged,
obviously that's like
Right,
a
yeah.
desperate situation.
Right.
Like that, they would be horrible to charge you in
Right,
that.
it's happened before. They weren't charged.
No, of course not. Yeah, and John Gorsuch also says there were lots of runaways and lost souls to prey upon in the 60, 70 days. Yeah, like everybody had become largely because of the highway system and also because of like the counterculture movement and stuff like that. So people became a lot more mobile. So, you know, like you said, there was a lot more prey for them to predate upon. So, so the dude was found dying essentially or unresponsive in his cell. They did try to revive him, but it didn't work. So he was pronounced dead about 4:20 a.m. On October 28th. He was about 37 years old. He was 37 years old when he died. Now, because of this, because he hadn't been a trial and stuff like that, I mean, obviously a lot of people got a little conspiracy minded about it. That were like, no, he didn't kill himself, he was actually murdered. Or they knew that he had tried to kill himself before, like why weren't they monitoring him? Or that maybe he was just like allowed to die, like just so they wouldn't have to do the trial, shit like that. But it does seem from all of the shit that I've seen that he did actually kill himself, and he had tried to do that before. Like I said, pretty sure he did it with his teeth, but they're not really telling anybody. So he's dead. So now basically, since he was kind of the instigator, I guess you could argue, now he sort of left his two quote-unquote fiancés kind of out to dry. Well, less Amber because she actually did pull the trigger in one case. But Krystal, like, she didn't kill anybody. She just kind of helped dispose of bodies, like, afterward. But they still had to go to trial. So Amber, a.k.a. Bubbles, she actually, they were going to charge her with first-degree murder, obviously, because she did shoot Tommy Welch. But she did a plea deal. So she pleaded guilty to second-degree murder for Tommy Welch, and then accessory after the fact for Joshua Wetzler. And I think there were also some robbery charges or something like that. So she didn't get the death penalty, but she got 30 to 40 years in prison. Krystal Matlock, she also got a plea. That was in June 2017. Hers was just conspiracy to accessory after the fact to first degree murder. That was the charge, which that's a mouthful. She got pretty lenient sentence, 38 to 58 months with credit for time served. Like I said, she didn't kill anybody. She just knew about it and helped them bury the bodies. So that's all she got. As I mentioned, the house was deemed uninhabitable for obvious reasons and condemned, and it was demolished in April of 2015. As far as I know, I saw like on something from a few months back from Google Earth that just there's just grass there now. There's other houses around, but it's just like a grass lot. Now, like I said, so a lot of stuff. I think the most popular documentary about this was the Vice one, which is called The Devil You Know, which was, like I said, a whole series. And it kind of was pretty in depth. There's also a podcast that Fox 8 did called what the hell was that called? I think it was called The Satanist Killer or something like that, or Satanist in the Suburbs or something. But it was like 5 or 8 episodes or something like that. And that was pretty good too. The case got compared to stuff like Richard Ramirez, because of the whole satanic imagery shit, and also like a little bit of the Manson family kind of crap. But like I said, I don't think, despite the Satanist angle, this doesn't seem like a cult to me. It just kind of seems like a bunch of small town druggies who didn't have anything better to do, and they just kind of ended up at this squalid house like to do drugs, and this severely mentally ill monster essentially.
I don't know if this is right, but all of a sudden it says we have 62 people fucking in the chat.
Really?
Has it really got 62 people? God. 64.
Wow.
Yeah. Thank you guys for joining just out of the blue. Fucking
now that we're kind of
yeah, I'll pass the fucking collection plate around. Super chats are active.
Yeah, trying to. John Gore says that scene in Last House on the Left where the girl is within yelling distance of the highway was so freaky. Yeah, that movie still kind of freaks me out. Not the remake. I don't think I saw the remake, but the Wes Craven original. That movie was a lot. It's very, very scuzzy. So yeah, I kind of feel like, even though obviously this is the kind of story that the media loves, right? Because the guy that was at the center of it looks like, he's saying he's a Satanist. His name is Pazuzu. Like, he's got tattoos all over his face and filed down teeth and Satan tattoos on his arm and all this other kind of shit, and saying he can control the weather. And so I kind of feel like this was after the heyday of the satanic panic. But I kind of feel like, because this took place in such a little Bible thumping town in North Carolina, where some people, like a lot of people there, like do legitimately believe in demons still. So I kind of feel like it was a little bit of a holdover from the satanic panic era, even though, like I said, a lot of it was, I think the cannibalism and the ritualistic kind of stuff was maybe slightly exaggerated, but all of the stuff that really happened that they can prove is bad enough. So it's honestly, it wouldn't shock me if they were eating part of people too. Because that seems like his whole thing, Pazuzu's whole thing, was, it just seemed like he was trying to do stuff to just be as extreme and shocking as possible. It was like a teenage boy thing. It's
he
just
was in a satanic paradise.
Yeah, and
his mama was in the back room letting him do whatever he wanted to do.
Whether that was shitting in the corner,
in the corner and shooting people in the head. Mama said it was okay.
I get, or at least she didn't say no.
Yeah, right. She didn't say no. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know what to think about the relationship between him and his mom.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's just very, very bizarre to me. Sure, she might have been afraid of him.
Like, I don't think so.
But it seemed like she was just
coddling him.
Yeah, I think she was just kind of like, oh, he can't help it. Like, he's sick or he's messed up, and
yeah, she
just didn't.
That's his friends. He's just hanging out with his friends.
I can't imagine. Like, unless she had problems too, which I'm sure she did. I can't imagine you like having a grown ass son who lives in your house.
Yeah.
Like, won't get a job, is on meth and heroin, and is a drunk, and like is a Satanist also, and is legitimately killing animals in your house and shitting in the corner and piling trash everywhere and just like trashing your house. Yeah. I don't even really know what happened to her after the house got torn down. Like, I've seen like little snippets of interviews with her and shit like that, but I don't, man, it's just, I can't imagine what the fuck, I just can't imagine what the fuck was going on in her head. I really don't. Like I said, I'm kind of more fascinated with her than with him because,
Yeah.
like, he just had, I mean, he obviously had severe mental health issues,
Yeah.
which were not addressed.
Yeah, what's her deal?
But what's her problem?
There's no adult supervision.
Yeah,
Evidently, she was fucked up too. That's the only explanation. She was fucked up also.
yeah, because, like, I mean,
Yeah, she wasn't sane.
you know, yeah, I mean, mental illness does tend to run in families. There is a
Yeah.
genetic component, so I kind of feel like maybe even though she seemed to be functioning, obviously,
Bitch was crazy.
yeah, I think there was something like that going on.
Yeah.
There's some kind of weird codependent
Yeah.
kind of relationship going on with them. I think that was her only kid, as far as I'm aware. And maybe she just doted on him too much and just kind of excused all of his behavior. But I can't imagine excusing that, like
Yeah.
the shit that he did.
Well, letting him destroy the house too.
Yeah, and she had to live there too.
Yeah. She was crazy.
And it's like she lives in, and it was fucking insane, like watching the shit, because the cops go in the house, and there's trash and shit and bones and shit like that everywhere.
Yeah.
And then they kind of go in the mom's room, and the mom's room looks relatively normal.
Yeah.
Like, and she was just living in that room, and then she'd walk out the door.
Yeah.
And then like that.
Yeah.
It just blew my fucking mind.
Yeah, she's crazy too though.
The whole shit is like so gross. So so yeah, so there are still like some, like I said, unanswered questions swirling around about this case. Because I mean, they do know, obviously they found 2 bodies in the backyard. That's all they found so far. They know that he was involved with a third murder, like even though he didn't pull the trigger, but he harbored the guy that did it and knew about it, so he got in trouble for that. However, Pazuzu himself claims to have killed at least 2 sex workers and also some homeless people. And they have never been able to determine if that is true or if he was just making stuff up.
Making stuff up, probably.
But like I said, you know, he said he had bodies in the basement and people thought he was making that up too, and it turned out he wasn't. Like, it turned out he did have a guy in the basement, and then later on he buried him in the backyard.
Yeah, but he had control of those bodies.
That's true.
If he killed other people, he wouldn't have had control over the bodies if they weren't on the premises. So they would have found them. See?
Yeah.
And then they would have known who he was talking about. I think this is the only 2.
Probably.
I think he just started bragging about the other ones.
Yeah, because he was real into.
Yeah.
And because he actually had done some shit.
Yeah.
Like, you really never knew like what you could believe.
What you could believe, well, yeah.
Or not.
Right.
So even though it's entirely possible that he did kill other people, I don't know. There's no evidence of that.
It's more likely he was bragging.
Yeah.
It's just these 2.
And
I'm sure the cops have gone through all this.
I mean, I would think.
And they'd be
like I said,
nah,
it took them long enough to just find these 2 dudes.
Yeah.
Despite everyone telling them, hey, you might want to go check that out.
Well, he had control of the bodies.
Yeah.
And then once they saw the bodies, like, okay, yeah, he's got it.
This is a fucking crazy ass story. and honestly, I'm surprised I hadn't heard of him before y'all recommended it.
Here, you want some of this?
What is it? Oh, okay. Yeah. I only had 1 drink, I think. Or no, is that this? Did you bring me another one? Or
nope.
Oh, okay.
I freshened it up.
Oh, okay. But you just put more juice in it,
yeah.
though. You didn't put more juice. It's not juice. It's pineapple Fanta.
Pineapple Fanta and vodka.
Because we're classy like that.
Yeah.
We're just as classy as these motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Drinking pineapple Fanta, shitting in the corner.
Stop it. This house is a palace, man.
It is. No one's allowed to shit in the corner.
The kitties love it. Yeah. We're going to have a party around here.
Except the kitties accidentally shit in the corner
party.
sometimes.
We're going to have a goth party. All the kids want to come over.
Yeah, we haven't had a party at this house.
Yeah.
We had a real good rager at the old house, but
yeah,
we haven't had one at this one.
Yeah, I'll make food and everything.
Well, yeah, I hope so. That's why everybody's gonna come to the party because Tom's cooking.
Yeah.
Everybody wants Tom's cooking.
Yep.
Yeah, Tanya said there were several dead animals there as well. Yeah, that's right. And I heard, I don't know if this is the case, but another thing that with his fucked up relationship with his mom is that even before the murders and everything like that, she would buy him, allegedly, rabbits from the pet store, and then he would sacrifice them. I don't know if that's the case. I don't know if that's really where he was getting the rabbits, Why would you buy your son rabbits
To sacrifice.
and then
Yeah.
sacrifice? I don't know if that's true or not, but I did hear that like on one podcast I was listening to about it, and I was like, wow, that's messed up. Like what? Here, have a cute pet
He
bunny.
just wants to
my
sacrifice.
God.
Oh, he's just sacrificing rabbits. Yeah.
Like a boy does.
Yeah.
Boys will be boys.
Yeah.
You know, sacrificing rabbits.
Yeah.
Shitting in the corner.
Yeah.
Like they
She was enabling, man.
peeing in the closet. Man said I could.
Yeah. Man said I could. Yeah.
Man said I could sacrifice the rabbit.
Yeah.
Man said I could take a shit in the
Yeah.
corner. Maybe that's what he was saying.
Yeah.
He said man said he could. That's fucking crazy, man.
Yeah.
And like I said, I think because I'm so fascinated by hoarders, I think I was kind of fascinated by that aspect of the case too, because I can't imagine it would have been less weird to me if it was just him living in the house. But the fact that he had so many friends coming over and hanging out in there
Yeah.
and staying there for extended periods of time, like sometimes they would sleep there, like crash there and stuff like that. Yeah, I know they were all high as balls, like on meth and heroin and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm sure that helped. But it's just like, and the fact that some of them just like talked about it like it was nothing. It's like, well, you could do anything you wanted. If you wanted to punch the TV and break it, you could do that. Or if some people just shit in the corner. I'm like, why do you want to shit in the corner? Like, why would that even occur to you?
They're crazy.
Did the bathroom not work? I don't really know. It's just no one said that. Everybody just thought, like you said, freedom. I guess. I don't know.
That's my take. Freedom, man. We're free.
I think that's how they.
Yeah.
I mean, the way they talked about it, that seemed to be the way they were coming at it. Like, you could do whatever you wanted, man.
Yeah, freedom.
Like, there were no rules. I'm like, okay.
I heard some old Chinese lady talking about American freedom, and she thought that meant that you could just steal whatever you wanted and just fuck people up and shit. And like,
This isn't the purge over here.
Yeah,
Come on
like,
now.
yeah, fucking. I was like,
That's not what that word means.
Yeah. And she was like a Chinese boomer. She'd have been like a boomer. Yeah.
Yeah, we're just allowed to like murder people at will.
The Chinese boomer thought that American freedom was just that you could go rape people and kill people and steal.
Run in the bank and take all the
freedom,
money.
yeah.
No one can do anything to you.
Yeah, right. That's freedom.
Freedom from consequences, apparently.
Yeah, it's not how. It's not.
No,
that's not what they're talking
That's
about.
not how anything works.
No.
That's not how anything works. You also have responsibilities, and like I said, you also have.
You go try.
There are
some
consequences.
Go try some of that freedom here in Lake County and watch what happens.
You will get your
Those
head
cops will
shot
fucking kill
off.
you. Yeah. Lake County cops. I met them. Fucking got pulled over by them. They're cool dudes and shit, but they're like paramilitary commandos. They're all young guys, fucking heavily armed, and fucking. I've seen them on police activity. What they do. If you're bad, they just fucking lay waste to you. It's just yeah.
They're like they don't want to do the paperwork.
Open fire! Just your whole car will just fucking. He went for a gun, and which he did. Yeah. They don't play here.
I think a lot of people do suicide by cop. Like
yeah, it's like a suicide by cop thing. I think they're just fucking. I'm fighting the cops, and then they just lay waste to you.
Oh man.
Which okay, that's if you really want to go that bad, you're dangerous. We can't have you around.
Well, yeah, I mean that's probably the best outcome for everyone involved.
Yeah, it's so much cheaper to do it that way.
I saw a show. I was watching this one true crime show. It's on HBO Max. I watched all of them. I think it was 3 seasons, but it was called. It's kind of a cheesy title. It's called House of Horrors: Kidnapped.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was kind of less depressing than regular true crime shows because at least there's like person that survived and they're talking about their ordeal and like what happened to them. So so they're interviewed on there, so they didn't die at the end. But this one woman, she was telling the story about she's just at home with her 2 kids, like minding her own business, and her and the kids were gonna go out fishing or whatever. And she looks out the window and she sees her neighbor, who she knew his name, but she didn't really know him that well. And she's like, and he was just like pacing like back and forth like crazy and like moving stuff around like he was having some kind of psychotic break or something. She's like, what the fuck is his deal? Whatever. And then he like came in her house and pulled a gun on her and made her call pharmacies about getting his medication. Yeah. And he was like unhinged. He was like losing it. And I'm like, is there some reason why is your arm broken or you can't call? Yeah. What the fuck is your problem? I don't know. But he was like delusional. Like he was like having some kind of break or something. And so he was going to go and her kids like ran and hid in the closet. and he was going to go shoot them, and she was freaking out, and she was like, shoot me instead, and all this other kind of stuff, and it was horrible. And then, like, at the end, she figured out, she's like, oh, he wants the cops to shoot him.
Yeah.
Like, that's why he just came in her house randomly. And at the end, like, he finally, like, went out the door and then just ran at him, and they just shot him full of holes.
Yeah.
And she's like, that's what he wanted.
Yeah. Suicide by cop.
Yeah. And she realized it, like...
And they don't mind.
I mean, they're just like, well...
The police know about suicide by cop, and they're like, okay. They'll stand up.
Yeah,
for
it's
that.
a thing.
They're like, okay, fine.
Well, you want us to shoot you? Okay.
Yep.
We'll just shoot you then.
And here's the thing. You'll be forgotten. You won't even be glorified. They have it all on fucking body cam. They'll put it up on YouTube, and people will laugh at you.
Yeah, like, look at that idiot.
Look at that. This, yeah. So
you're not really going out in a blaze of glory.
You're not going out in a blaze of glory. They're mocking you.
Pretty much, yeah.
So, if you're a man and you're a strong man and you want to end your own life, don't make the cops do it. Do it yourself. Do it yourself.
That seems like very cowardly.
It's a cowardly way of doing it. Yeah.
I mean, because I'm sure.
Reach down, grab your nuts, grab your own fucking responsibility, and take care of that shit yourself. If you suck that bad that you got to get the fuck out of here, be a man for once.
Yeah, don't make somebody else.
Don't make some other motherfucker do it.
Yeah. And like have them have fucking PTSD about it.
Because they're just gonna laugh at you on the internet. They're gonna put it up there on body cam, so that way nobody's gonna blame the cops and say, "Look what this dude did. It's not our fault." And they're just gonna go, "Man, you just see what." The comments are fucking golden in all those videos. So no matter how bad you think it is, if it's really that bad, you just be prepared. They're gonna make fun of you. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean they'll be dead. They won't know.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean.
But a lot of dudes, I think it's that they're going out in a blaze of glory, and people remember them,
and that they're like making some kind of statement. Or something.
You're not.
Nah.
They don't know you. They don't give a shit about you. They don't care that you killed yourself. They don't care. They think it's funny.
Most people will just be like, "Oh well,
loser." Yeah.
Like that was no big loss.
Yeah.
But all right. So I guess we're going to
just shut this shit down.
Wrap it up for this evening. Hopefully,
now, we'll be back Friday, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Because Saturday is the big night, right?
Yeah, we're not going out Friday this week. We're going Saturday night. We're going to see A Starry Night at Will's Pub, and then going to Memento Mori after the show is over.
Yeah, so we got
as long as the show doesn't go too late. Well, the Will's Pub shows, I think they have to be over by 11.
Okay.
I think because it's in a neighborhood, and I think because of noise ordinances, I think because they're usually over pretty early. It's 3 bands though. So yeah, so we're gonna go do that on Saturday, but we will be here Friday night for the Sidetrack show. So hopefully you guys can join us for that. If you're new here, that's our show where we just pretty much get a little bit drunk and just talk about whatever. You know what I mean? There's no set topic or anything like that. We just talk about a bunch of bullshit and drink and shoot the shit with you guys, and it's always a good time. So hopefully you guys can join us for that. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the show this evening. This was a fascinating topic, so thank you for recommending it. So hopefully you guys have a good rest of your evening and have a good day tomorrow, and we will see you guys again on Friday night.